Joining me now with more on Palestinian President Abbas's diplomacy, former Israeli ambassador to the United States, Danny Ayalon. Danny, it's great to have you back with us. Thank you so much for joining. Now, Abbas just compared Israel to Nazis again, this time in Germany. The German press and the government is condemning his rhetoric. How much damage did Abbas actually just do, though?
I think mostly he did damage to himself. And as you rightly said, his dissertation for his PhD, doctorate work at the University of Moscow was just about the Holocaust denial. He has been doing that many, many times. Also accusing Israel of apartheid when he actually postponed and prevented elections in the Palestinian territory from 2006. This is 16 years, where there's no human rights or anything even remotely like that in the Palestinian territories. So basically, I think the light should be cast on him and his conduct. As far as he's defaming Israel, it's nothing new. The Palestinians have been trying to incite against Israel, propaganda, lying, and trying to take Israel to task in each and every international organization that they can. And basically what they do, they complement the Hamas terror or jihad terror on the ground, or they continue with, or they complement it or supplement it with what I call political and legal terrorism, which of course is baseless, is a lie. And the last thing, this guy is also, we have to remember, he finances terrorists and terrorist families from money that he's receiving from Europe. The last thing I want to say here, Ran, is that his political wisdom about choosing the venue where to deny the Holocaust or compare it to the Palestinian issues was also flatly falling on the face. And I'm glad that the Germans answered him as they should.
All right, well, so, again, I wanted to press, did he only hurt himself, or did he do any sort of damage, particularly in Germany because of the location, to the Palestinian cause? And further, despite his incendiary start, he finished his comments with a supposed plea for peace. In your opinion, is this cynical gaslighting, or is it a sincere plea that just comes from a very, very different perspective?
Well, again, there's no sincere plea for someone who finances terrorism on a continuous basis. I would say that among the erudite and educated, he did pretty much damage to himself. Unfortunately, if there is anti-Semitism, if there is ignorance, those ignorant or anti-Semitic can take this and try to blow it up. I hope this will not happen.
All right, now in later comments, Abbas repeated calls for recognition of a Palestinian state at the UN. So did the PA's UN ambassador, Riyad Mansour. But the United States would actually have to change laws to allow such a thing. U.S. policy is that a recognized PA would undermine direct negotiations with Israel. So what would it actually take for the PA to get its way at the UN? And is there any chance of that?
The only way for them to get a seat at the UN is to become a democratic entity which represents the entire Palestinian people, and this is not the case. Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad are not answerable to Ramallah. Actually, there is a major conflict between them. In Ramallah itself, there is no democratic conduct. There is no control over territory. There is no foreign relations. All these are qualifications which are prescribed by the UN, not just the United States, for becoming an entity that could get a state-like status and a seat at the United Nations General Assembly. He does not qualify, let alone that, of course, there is no political horizon, and the only way that they can do it after they have fixed all the problems they have at home is to negotiate with Israel on the outcome of final negotiations. So I would say there are so many faults here. There are so many, he's so far away from it that it's just a hoax that he even brings it up.
At the same time, though, the PA has gained many footholds in different organizations throughout the UN. So is it possible that the PA maybe does get some sort of recognition U.S. law would require withholding funds both to the PA and the UN if that happened. Would the Biden administration perhaps consider reversing those laws in efforts to restore ties with Ramallah?
Well, I don't think so. I think that in this case, the Biden administration will be quite consistent with the American legislation. So he cannot really do independently anything else. And also Biden himself, I think, is very much committed to the security, to the well-being of the state of Israel. Also from a diplomatic point of view, he calls himself a Zionist, and he is really a friend of Israel and the Jewish people. So I do not see anything that will change the United States policy. However, unfortunately, there are other countries, many of them are not democratic, which, of course, acquiesce with this Palestinian demands or Palestinian threats. But again, this would be very, very insignificant, and this will not, the way that the Palestinian Authority and Abu Mazen conducts himself is not going to pave their way to what they want to become, a state of their own.
All right, Ambassador Dani Ayalon, thank you so much again for joining us.
My pleasure.